There's that. All right, great. It says still preparing. We're still recording. So let's just jump into this. It's still trying to spin and wheel of death. Bryce and I are having technical difficulties, so we're just going to dive right in, record this, and then get y'all what you want. So, Bryce, pleasure. Thanks for being here. Sorry about technical difficulties. I have done this 3 times and it has not had any issue. Influence. I think that's what is going on right now.
Zoom 1, Ron Torrance 0.
Don't worry, I'll catch up. I'll get there. And always have a positive outlook. And that's something that I really want to talk to the audience and talk to yourself about. This is Bryce Smith. He's a multiple times games athlete. He's a amazing mentor and really somebody who's leading me down the path of physical fitness. He's the person that I get my training from. And, Bryce, just kind of give yourself, that was my kind of introduction for you. Tell a little about the audience, a little about yourself.
I've got quite the story. My athletic endeavors and career began back when I was just a youngster trying to chase my dad and brother around in the garage, working out. And that kind of transitioned into a life and career playing basketball and then eventually a little bit of volleyball. So jumping sports have been a forte of mine and also something that I've really enjoyed and kind of gravitated towards. And after my professional basketball playing career concluded in Europe, I came back and I was fortunate enough to be a strength and conditioning coach at Cal State Northridge, where I had some amazing mentors, kind of laid an amazing foundation for me to build upon. And from there, I found my way to Valley CrossFit, where, I worked under Becca Voigt and Chris Clever and Lindsay Valenzuela and some really cool OG CrossFit athletes.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually connected and had training partners in Julian Alcaraz and Chad Melton, 2 guys that have made the games a few times. And then, I was so fortunate. I was feeling a little bit stuck in the LA area and wanted to spread my wings a little bit. And fortunately, my mentor from Northridge was good friends with CJ Martin down at Invictus. And I was able to connect with him. And, we created a little bit of a different career path where I was no longer group coaching like a traditional fitness coach, but kind of formulated a semi-private coaching division where I can do individual program design for 5 to 15 people per hour. And it's been a blast. It's been super cool to connect with people. But, what was so special and so cool about building this bond and this bridge with you, I'm in San Diego, you're all the way over in Florida, but just this concept of, you mentioned earlier, being the Invictus warrior monk. Like for me, it's not just about the fitness, it's about the mindset component too. And, allowing mind, body, and soul to interconnect because the physical only really takes us so far, as you guys see, at Regenexx and, a lot of the different PRP and healthy modalities that you guys provide to get people back in the game. A lot of that comes from just, building confidence, having people to lean on. None of us can do this by ourselves, myself included. I'm fortunate to have an awesome team that, guides me out here, a significant partner in Brittany Weiss that kind of keeps me healthy and motivated. And, that's a brief little piece into my background and kind of how Ron and I got a little bit connected, which is pretty dope.
Yeah. So I first met Bryce when I was actually doing sports medicine rotations, I think way back in like 2015-ish. And I was out in San Diego at San Diego Sports Medicine with Dr. Rebecca Rodriguez. She's still a friend, a colleague, and somebody that I respect. She actually she was organizing the sports medicine convention out in Anaheim, and unfortunately we've had to reschedule for the following year. But she's out in San Diego, and she lives right up in Carlsbad area. She's got a huge avocado farm. But anyways, I'm kind of diverging there. But that's when Bryce and I first met. I was following all the Invictus programming when that was it was all just the blog, and it was really before you guys have rehashed that whole website. And I was just doing everything with a couple friends. It was actually CrossFit DT1 at the time, and it was affiliated with CrossFit Aspire over in Jersey, right across the bridge from Philly. And I was doing all those workouts, and I went out there for 2 weeks, and I wanted to go to Invictus and do the competitor's training, man. That's where I was. I was that mindset. I wanted to be the competitor. And so that was super, super fun. And I ran into you, started talking to you. And we both have very similar sports backgrounds. I played baseball in college, but I would have loved to play basketball. I had a really bad experience with the coach, and mindset was a big thing with a freshman year basketball. Even though we went undefeated, I just didn't get on the same page with the guy, and it was something where it was just not a good fit. So I stopped playing basketball at that point. But when we met out in San Diego, it was just great. I was like, we got long levers. We're not meant to be CrossFit athletes. We're sitting here. So, the optimal CrossFit athlete, I don't care what anybody says, it's a 5'8" to 5'10" person who is about 185 to 190, maybe 200 pounds. That's the person who's going to, win the games. Dave, you can yell at me later, but, you just had a big post about in 2010 how that's not the optimal CrossFit athlete. I'm like, well, you look at the guys like, and this is something for you and I, it's, I look at, I'm having a blank on his name right now.
Spencer Hendel, Asia Bartow, all those big guys that did it, for a while gave us kind of hope. And then, when you look at, Brent Fikowski, he kind of hangs on a little bit currently, although he's not our size. He's a little smaller.
Yeah.
I've met him a couple times and I was like, dang it, on camera, he looks so much bigger. He's an incredible athlete, though, an incredible mover, but I mean, when you look at just the laws of physics, it would be the equivalent of, you and I running 2 miles while most other athletes are running 1 mile. When you look at just distance traveled over time in the course of different movement modalities in the CrossFit space, one squat for you and I, distance over time, right? Like it's going to take us that much longer, which means in order to move the proficient amount of speed, we need to be that much % stronger than their traditional athlete with smaller levers, especially given femur length and how far forward we're going to be on certain squat patterns, which the majority of movements require the squat. And so I think that's really, really special that the size factor kind of brought us together. But I think more importantly, just the values and the character are what kind of brought us together. And just recognizing that, like, yeah, physics may be against us here, but guess what? We're going to have that walk-on Rudy mentality. We're going to strive to overcome that. And maybe we won't necessarily win the workouts, but we can hang on just enough so that when we do get some tall guy workouts on an assault bike or rowing machine or with a wall ball, we can maybe, be able to hang a little bit more with the traditional size guys. And I think that mindset component of not allowing certain preconceived limitations limit us and kind of see that box, break down the barriers within the box and be like, all right, cool. What's next?
Absolutely. And that's just, that's the mindset that I think you and I both have, which makes us much, much different and sets us above. The glass is always half full. It's never half empty. And
sure.
we're always going to try to figure out a way to win and or a way to compete. And that's something that, there's a great book by Pete Carroll called How You Win Forever. And the biggest solution to that is compete to be the best fiance, compete to be the best, father, compete to be the best husband, compete to be, to be the best at what you can be. And it doesn't mean you don't get to beat anybody, but you're competing within yourself to put your best foot forward. And that's something my mom always told me, always put your best foot forward. I don't know if there's a better foot, but it's one of those things that it's a great saying that goes a long way. And that background in sports and that kind of drive is something that I think that really led me to you. And I'll give you my quick story. I did the Invictus blog for a while, and then I did helped qualify a team for regionals in 2016 with CrossFit Love through Joe Petrusky's programming. And then after that, 2016, 2017, we just missed making the last regionals that there was. And I was just kind of looking for something different. I started doing really Awaken training series. That was something I toyed around with. I had some other people do some programming. And it really wasn't what I really was looking for. I mean, I love the individual lever movements with Awaken training series, but it's very cookie cutter. It's everybody does the same thing. And as we just talked about, we Bryce and myself, we're both very tall athletes, so you can't see it by us both sitting down here right now. But I'm 6'4", I believe you're 6'4" too, correct?
Yep.
And it's something where it's a much different world, and I have different goals and aspirations than other, recreational athletes per se at this point. But I still compete pretty competitively with beach volleyball. But it's something where I wanted something that was going to, really work on. I've set some goals for it at the start of this year. And one of those goals was doing yoga, at least once a week to keep my mobility there. And that's something I've, like really missed right now, because if you're not in a studio, it's really not the same to me. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
it's definitely not the same vibe. But just kind of dialing back that mindset. I was actually just having a conversation with somebody earlier today about yoga. The concept of just make it to your mat, like just that mindset principle has been so helpful for myself and others throughout the quarantine, because like, I don't know if you are this way, but I place expectations on myself as to, in the gym, I was able to do this weight or this certain time. And then it was really tough for me to go out onto the patio and try to, mimic the expectations that I placed on myself. And so the concept was just make it to the patio. Mm-hmm. And then from there, rather than moving with expectation, move with gratitude. And I think that mindset comes from the yoga piece, where it's like, you know what? Where you were last week with your, backward bend or, with certain depth within the poses, mm-hmm. may not be where you are this week. And guess what? That's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay to, not necessarily have a periodization with regards to, progression, and just recognizing that like, hey, this is where we are. Let's accept where we're at. We made it to our mat. That's a win. And then let's strive to get a little bit better than where we were when we entered, the mat. And so I think that concept bleeds into so many different elements, but I'm right there with you. Like yoga within a studio brings with it like a euphoric vibe.
Well, it means that Zen, right? I mean, that's what yogis talk about, that Zen feeling, that community feeling, that community aspect. And psychologically, it's going to affect you. Right now, the psychological issue is that we can't have community. We can't hug. We can't, that's something that our bodies innately yearn for. And the fact that we can't do that is something that's really is an effect on our really emotional health and our health, just general health and health in general, that we don't really necessarily see. It's not something you can visually go, hey, listen, you're not healthy because you don't have any, community or companionship or anything along those lines. But it's something that can be as detrimental. And I read this in a study because I have the 5 pillars of health that I put in my exercise book that I co-wrote. It can be as detrimental as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And we know that smoking cigarettes is detrimental to your health. I mean, if you don't believe that, really, I don't know if you should be watching this whole discussion, because we have a lot more to discuss than just that. But so that was the first thing that really, the yoga for me was and I was doing it religiously. Unfortunately, right now, getting to the mat is going to be something that I put in my work ethic now. I've been getting in there and getting a lot more stretching and things that I need to work on. Number 2, I wanted to do like a sprint triathlon. That sprint triathlon actually was supposed to be this past weekend, and unfortunately it was moved. So I had more time. So that was something that is good. I wanted to really start winning some matches in open beach volleyball, and that's already happened. I won a match in open beach volleyball. Was one of the early matches that I was able to go to, and I'm super pumped about that and want to continue to progress in that realm. And I love the way you've worked a lot of the lateral movements and some of the things that I feel like traditional CrossFit really misses. And
it's so linear, like incorporating some of the rotation stuff, even if it's small, like a wood chop movement or just a Russian twist, like getting into the transverse abdominis is naturally going to help with power production when swinging to spike a ball, or when, the natural reflex or reaction to go for a dig. And obviously any sort of lateral movement, it's not as measurable as you would see on like a linear lift, or, connecting something to a tendo unit that's going to give you bar speed and whatnot. But I think what's cool about, incorporating some of the lateral and rotational movements and just the strength endurance of being in the suffering position a little bit when you're doing some of your lateral shuffles or vertical jumps after a heavy squat session is just the effort component, right? Like within volleyball, especially beach volleyball, when you're in the sand, that concept of effort is huge. If you go after some of those balls that some people are just like, glass half empty, there's no shot in hell that I'm gonna be able to go get that, and you go after it, those little bits make up a big difference at the end of a volleyball match. And that's something that I've definitely seen with you guys, is just that effort concept is huge.
Yeah. And that's something that as you watch really high level volleyball, there are the guys who will just kind of like concede that point, and they're the guys that really will contest some of those points. And there also comes a time though too that you should put that extra effort in. Yeah. Too, because if you're gassed and you're in a game where it's pretty much out of reach, a lot of times, I'm not a give up ever type person. So I don't ever think a game's out of reach. I was the 8th grade basketball player who we were down by 20 with two minutes left, and I go, and our coach started taking out the starters, and I irrationally responded as an 8th grader, yeah. What are we doing? We're gonna try to lose this game, with we're down 20 points. It's pretty insurmountable odds. But again, I'm not a quitter in any sense of the word. But and that's.
I mean, when you think about it, though, it's similar to what we talked about with the mat. It's a momentum starter. It's not about the outcome of that particular match. It's about the momentum that you build with your mindset leading into everything else, right? Like, let's say hypothetically you do lose the match by 20 points. If you know that you quit, now it's easier to quit on something within your life, right? Oh, I don't feel like brushing my teeth tonight. I'm too tired. I don't feel like making my bed this morning. Well, now all those things bleed into taking shortcuts into other aspects of life. And then we start wondering why we're feeling in a rut or not necessarily as successful as we could be. And so, the biggest takeaway there is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Totally. I mean, I'm going to write that down. And that's a great statement for how you do anything is how you do everything.
I don't know who said that. I'm by all means not the inventor of that quote, but there's so many mantras and quotes that live rent free in between my ears that's one of the ones that, is very helpful each and every day, especially during the quarantine. Another one that I really like that helped me a lot yesterday when I didn't feel like doing a big squat session was, hey, if you fall off the path, all you got to do is get right back on the path. I stole that one from Jocko. That one's not mine either.
Jocko? Yeah. Okay. I think we don't know this one, but how you do anything is how you do everything. That's really the case. I mean, if you're somebody, and that's why I think that you and I just mesh so well, is that understanding that, listen, I'm going to give everything I got to each individual patient that I have. You're going to give everything to each athlete or, member or, client that you coach and work with, because that's who we are. And that's the difference too that, I wanted to kind of get into about this is, I got all these cookie cutter programs and, we talked, but the goal setting was huge for me. Like, you reached out and, we have text conversations daily talking about what our goals are as an athlete. And hey, if you have a little bit of a tweak here and there, you're going to make some modifications because of it. But understanding that we have a set goal for the year and what our goals are. And I was just, finish up those goals. And I think that, I'm on track, and staying competitive in CrossFit, something that I enjoy. I'm going to be a master's athlete, snap at the next open. So I gotta jump in there with, the likes of people that are much more fit than I am. But but the thing that I really love and enjoy was your, connection. The connection is really something that helped, especially during this time. And that's why we jumped on this call today. And we're going to, I'm going to broadcast this to everybody so you guys can sit there and take a look and understand what the difference is. And, you can get all these programmings, get all these things, but, Bryce and I really have a connection. We text daily talking about things, whether it's our relationships, and we help each other out. And, I think that's what I really, really care about, and it's been much, much different than, the Awaken Training Series is great, but it's not Marcus Philly sitting there talking to me about stuff. He's not having me like, a day-to-day conversation. And, I didn't really connect with any of his other set of coaches like I do with you. So that was something that was huge. The text, conversations, daily, weekly check-ins. This is something that really makes a difference in my life, and I think it can make a difference in your life if you're looking for somebody to possibly work with you for some fitness goals. So that's something I want to be a shout out there.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, I think that's the foundation of everything is just human connection. I'm very fortunate enough to have had some amazing mentors and some great education, but at the foundation of all of it is just, is there trust? And I think the trust comes from just the acknowledgement of like, hey, guess what? I'm not doing this for you. You're not doing it just because I'm texting it or writing it on a piece of paper. Guess what? We're doing it together. There's going to be moments where I rely heavily on you to get feedback so that I'm not guessing, and to understand where your headspace is at. What's your day looking like? How's your food? How's your relationship? What's the weather like? Like, what is going on in between your ears? And how can we create a program that helps you in that moment? I always say miracles are made in moments. It doesn't matter how good the program is if you don't believe in it, right? You've heard tons of strength coaches and nutritionists say, what's the program that works? It's the one that you do. But it's not just the one that you go through the motions doing. It's the one that you truly believe in, that you're actually putting exactly what you said, your best foot forward. Yep. And, I think that really is the difference. I'm by all means not a, programming expert. I'm not a nutrition expert, but guess what? I'm passionate as hell about both of those things. Yep. And I know that like you're going to share some tips and ideas with me, and I'm going to look those up. And guess what I am? I'm a professional mistake maker and a lifelong learner. And I think by collaborating with, clients and members and using myself a little bit as a guinea pig with regards to movement protocols, mindset pieces, nutrition pieces, and having tons of conversations with people significantly smarter than me, it brings all those things together into this digestible smoothie to then share with people based on what they need in that moment.
Yeah, no, that's extremely profound the way you put it. Digestible smoothie, a small digestible smoothie, so people can take, what the biggest benefits of what you've learned. And a lifelong learner is something that I profess as a physician and clinician. It's something that I've dedicated myself to be, and I've been practicing with Regenexx for about 3 years now, and and that's something where we're in a brand new field of regenerative medicine. It's been around for 15 years. Regenexx has been a company for 15 years, and this brings me to that is that I've become a pretty big expert in this field because it is a relatively new field, and I'm super grateful because of that. And it's something that you've had your personal experience with it for your biceps tendon. I'm super pumped that that's doing so well. And I've had it for my shoulder, and it's something where it just keeps you away from the knife and having to undergo extremely large surgery. Speaking of which, have you ever had orthopedic surgery?
I've never had a major surgery. As you can see, my nose is crooked. When I was in college, I was playing defense, got elbowed, and severely broke my nose, double black eye, deviated septum. They re-broke it to try to align it while I was awake, and then they went in and reopened the deviated septum, which I'm not certain it stayed open. I'm not certain what the breathing is there, or if that's just my fitness currently.
So you're not doing nasal breathing with all of us?
And so, that was going to be my next point. So when I spoke with PJ Nestler, who's the director of training and performance for XPT, Extreme Performance Training, who's connected like Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese, I was fortunate enough to go up to their house, and they were all about nasal breathing. This is obviously away from the pool activities that they prescribe. And I played devil's advocate. I always think if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And I was like, well, I broke my nose when I was in college. I'm not, great at breathing through my right nostril. Is nasal breathing, the best protocol for me? And he was like, hey, Bryce, how many deviated septums do you think all of my UFC fighters have? Tons, weekly. Yeah. And he's like, but it's kind of a muscle. Like these muscles in and around the nose, like if they don't get used and they're not practiced daily through nasal breathing protocols, then it's not necessarily going to get better. And so I became just, in that moment, I had to put my ego and my personal thoughts aside and just start to perform the nasal breathing that I've given a lot of you guys. And, in conjunction with that, the nasal breathing is dope because it decreases the level of intensity a little bit, especially if you're not great at nasal breathing, which I would characterize myself and most people as not great at it. And so it decreases the barrier to entry when entering a training session. You don't feel like you have to hit a certain RPM rate on any particular bike. Like it just gets you in the zone to just start. Increases core body temperature. Now your joints are a little bit less sticky, start to move with a little bit more fluidity. And what does that do? Enhances that cognitive confidence leading into a session which gives you a win. And if you're getting your ass kicked all day, whether that's work, traffic, kids, whatever it is, before you enter your training session, now that gives you, you know, that euphoric endorphin type feeling leading into the session, which sets you up for more success.
Absolutely. I found myself, especially with the nasal breathing pieces, it's like, hey, it's okay to go a little bit slower on these movements. Yeah. It's definitely warming up my diaphragm, which is a huge thing. That really probably is, you know, if you're familiar with Postural Restoration Institute, PRI?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff talking about breathing and how your lungs and how your diaphragm isn't moving or it's stuck, and how you're not getting any belly breathing. And that's really something that you and my fiance should nerd out about, because she's gone down that rabbit hole a little bit.
There's some really cool stuff there, man. Like, I mean, the diaphragm, what do you see on the cover of every fitness magazine? The core is the answer to the world's problems. But in reality, the core is such a broad and inclusive piece, right? Like you mentioned belly breathing, and like, I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. Like, you do want to belly breathe, but what about 360 breathing, right? Breathing through into the obliques, into the erectors. And guess what that does? That creates like a corset or a real, you know, bridge of midline stability for force transfer within squats, deadlifts, presses, and all those fun things.
And I was working out with my good friend yesterday, my quarantine, as I should say, and he anytime his core has to be activated, he tries to move through that movement quickly because he has no core. So you know, he's always hyperextended and flaring his ribs. And that's an issue, you know, and I'm like, dude, you've got to go move slower. You've got to, you know, move back to go forward on some of these movements. You know, we were doing some of the, you know, one of the biggest things was he was trying to do like overhead walking, like farmer's carry. I go, bro, you haven't earned the overhead walking carry yet. Because you are flaring that rib so much, you're not doing anything for your core. He's not activating his core, but that also has to do with his breathing patterns, because I don't think he breathes through his, you know, through that 360 breathing that you're describing.
If you watch the majority of people, they will chest breathe. They'll go into the traps and the scalenes mostly as a byproduct of this computer forward head tilt. And then what ends up happening to the majority of CrossFitters, from what I've seen, incredibly tight hip flexors from squatting often and trying to squat fast without fully squeezing the glutes. We're all guilty of that sometimes. And then incredibly tight thoracic spine, obviously, as a result of just tight lats, right? And incorporating some of the quadruped, you know, T-spine rotations are really good. Trying to open up those lats a little bit and find, you know, time to do it, right? Like, the thing that I love about CrossFit is just the community component, the element of measurability and all those things, but also on the element of measurability is, you know, getting a better time on the whiteboard doesn't necessarily improve your health and wellness overall, right? So sometimes slowing down and picking your spots within whatever the metabolic conditioning is that day will serve you a little better. I'll give you an example. Yesterday we did a 30-minute EMOM. The first minute was like 12 to 15 cows on the C2 bike. Second minute was 20 walking lunges. Third minute was 20 kettlebell swings. Well, the bike is going to be kind of a wash for a bigger athlete. Just get through it. But then look at the lunges. Am I stepping back, slamming the knee into the ground to try to just get through the movement? Or is it, okay, I want a 90-degree angle at the back knee, 90-degree at the front knee. What's my weight distribution looking like in each foot? What's my posture looking like? What's the glute activation at the top of every lunge? Or am I just going through the motions to get the reps? On that third minute of the kettlebell swing, is it violent hip extension where I'm feeling a bilateral glute contraction? Or is it I'm hinging and I'm kind of lifting the bell with my shoulders and kind of going through a soft hip extension, but in reality, I'm not really engaging the glutes that much, right? There's a mind to muscle connection associated with, you know, a lot of these movements. And so I think that there's a ton of value in incorporating tempo, because I oftentimes, as coaches and healthcare professionals, I think we use certain cues, but I'm not certain the athlete, the member, the patient, or the client totally understands what that feels like. I think they conceptually understand it, but getting the mind to then cater the action to the muscle, I think could help people like your buddy with that rib challenge, and just slowing down. And in all honesty, maybe even like we've been using the reflection on our back window while squatting to kind of help fix some of the movement patterns that we weren't totally aware of, or having a mirror or video footage. All those things for self-care and assessment, I think will be incredibly helpful to help people in their movement proficiency.
Yeah, no, I think so. Well, I'm pivoting right now because I'm really loving our conversation.
Nice.
And I could go on YouTube live, which I've never done. So,
what's up, YouTube?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if we can live stream this. Hold on. So we had an issue with our live stream, so we're trying to do this right now. Stream now.
Streaming.
Shit. Text me the verification code. All right, but yeah, no, and I agree. You know, like sometimes, you know, and we're also, you know, all experts too, because sometimes we get, you know, especially my buddy Mike. He's actually, you know, a level 2 coach, and a lot of times, you know, you get this. You're the expert, so you know you're not doing anything wrong. And I don't think he's in that like that boat, and he listens very well. But at the same time, you know, he's somebody that, you know, I want to make sure that he's doing everything right. And
I think all of us need a set of eyes sometimes. I mean, there's certain days where I definitely see myself moving better than other days. And I think it goes back to just the perspective and the intent of training that day. You know, I don't really have a problem if somebody's missing like hip extension, if their intent that day is intensity and a little bit slightly different mindset. As long as they're aware of it. You know, going back to our breathing conversation, you know, I think just making breathing awareness is huge, you know, and I think what XPT and Wim Hof and what some of these guys are doing, also the Art of Breath with Brian McKenzie, I think a lot of these guys are doing a really cool job of enhancing breathing awareness. You know, whether that's nasal breathing, whether that's tempo breathing, whether that's, you know, holding your breath or getting into, you know, a pool of water or an oxygen deprivation chamber or mask, like all those things could for sure help.
Of course. I just want to make sure those are up there. Art of Breath and Wim Hof. I think Wim Hof's different. I forget his name of his book, but
yeah, both of those are good ones. I personally use the XPT app every day.
Yeah.
They have a ton of free stuff on there that you guys can play with. And then if you want to upgrade to some of their more advanced protocols, they have like a yearly subscription that people can play with. But I just think PJ Nestler does an amazing job. He makes things really digestible. He's similar to us, just constantly on the hunt to become a better version of himself. And I think, you know, I love connecting, collaborating, learning from those guys. You know, I naturally I'm able to produce a lot of power on the bike, but it hasn't been as sustainable, or, you know, longer intervals trying to hold a certain wattage or RPM rate have always been a challenge. And just playing with some of the breathing protocols has changed my cognitive, you know, where I focus to my breath rather than, oh my gosh, I'm starting to panic. I can't hit these RPMs. I'm not good enough. Now it goes down the rabbit hole of, you know, negative self-talk. But when you're focused on your breath, you know, it kind of goes back to the concept of control the controllable. You know, the breath, the mindset, the attitude, the effort are all things that we can control. And I think it's almost anxiety regulation, I think, for some people, whether that's mid-workout, you know, morning energizer, or down regulating in the evening.
Yeah, no, I mean, and so much of exercise and fitness and athletics is mental, right? I mean,
for sure.
That's the biggest thing, the negative self-talk. I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary, the Last Dance, and I've been just pumped every night. Like every night I get done watch this, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so great. And there's new things that come out the next day about really what, you know, what happened. But you watch him, I mean, he went to beat the Detroit Pistons, the most recent one. They had to go back to the drawing board and just, you know, get in the weight room, work out, become more of a team. And then they beat them in 4, and they didn't ever look back, you know, and they never shook their hands and all that crap. And
it was so exciting to watch all that. And also just to, I mean, it was cool too that they had to respond to adversity, right? They had gotten beat, previously, and it wasn't necessarily beat because of skill or because of, certain intangibles. It was 100% due to toughness.
Yeah.
And, who they demonstrated that they had their teammates back at all times. And, when the Bulls responded to that in the midst of challenges with the front office, with money challenges, with injuries, I don't know. I'm going to copy Joe Rogan here. I like a rags to riches stories like anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, I went from rags to riches, screwed my life up a little bit, and then found a way to come back.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool that, Jordan had his foot injury. They got beat by the Pistons. Pippen was having his contract issues. The front office had their challenges. Phil had his challenges. We saw the chaos associated with Rodman. And just all those different pieces of the story that, quite frankly, myself and most people were not aware of in the 90s. And to know that backstory and relate that to our personal growth and development of we got out and got after it today in our workout. But if you actually know the stories that go on previous or post that, I think it makes the sessions that people experience that much better. And so, going back to Simon Sinek's Find Your Why, everybody's got a story that we know nothing about. And that's honestly what we all are. We're just a bundle and a collection of stories. Mm-hmm. And I think you and I understand that storytelling is kind of the future of the world.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're doing right now. You and I are having a conversation and telling stories about how we perceive things and what we're seeing is happening in the world. And that kind of leads me to the next story for us. I can't get away from having a plug here. We have been fortunate enough in Florida to actually be able to open back up for medical procedures.
Yep. Congratulations. That's cool.
And, that is really our lifeblood from Regenexx Tampa Bay. And, so that's something that, definitely want to put on there. Our procedures resume May 4th. That's officially when we can start. We're going to do a couple of days of, retraining some of our staff, and we're taking a little bit a slower ramp back up because we want to make sure everybody is as safe as possible when they come into our office. And that's something I just posted. If you want to check my Facebook post, or not my Instagram post, talking about what we're doing to make sure that this is the COVID safe zone for all the people out there who are concerned about that. Now, that's why I wanted to have you on, because exercise is extremely important for people's health and staying, really away from it and beating this virus if possible. I know Chris Spieler had a bout with COVID, and he got through it, beat it. And what we've been seeing as from clinician perspective and from a worldwide perspective is that we all need to be healthier, and that's not just when we have a virus among us. We need to make sure that we're out there getting exercise, and that's why I think a huge promotion to you is that I think you should, from this whole crisis that we're dealing with. If you guys need somebody to be that kind of that impetus for you, reach out to at the real Bryce Smith. That's an Instagram. He's somebody that will work with you and find out find your why, and work with you to figure out why you do this. But it's also going to make you better at work. It's going to make you better lover, better in life, better at your job. And this is what Bryce has been fantastic during this time for me and my fiance. He's been chiming in. So anything else you want to add to that?
Just to chime in a little bit on Regenexx. I'm somebody that wants to stay away from surgery at all costs. Mm-hmm. And this last year, I was battling a tremendous elbow injury. I don't know if it was something that happened in one particular motion of catching a clean weird or pulling a deadlift with a slight elbow bend with that, mixed grip that I try to stay away from. But it was something that came at a tough time. I was going through some life stuff, and to have my strict pull-ups, my push-ups, my handstand push-ups, and the barbell taken away was really challenging and made me press pause and step back. And it was about a year of stubbornly persisting until I got to the point of, asking for help is okay. And I went and got PRP on my elbow area, and on the ultrasound showed that I had a small tear in my brachioradialis. And, I cannot speak highly enough about PRP type protocols and connecting with companies like Regenexx, just because of the concept of enabling you to get back to doing what you love in a safe manner, utilizing your own blood, connecting and sharing your story with the healthcare professional like Ron, and just kind of going through that journey together. I went into it not expecting to get full recovery, but to just get some pain management, some enhanced range of motion, and just have it to enhance the quality of my life. And as a byproduct of believing in our healthcare system and whatnot, now I'm able to do everything. It's not 100%, but it's significantly better than it was. And it kept me away from surgery, kept money in my pocket to prepare for pandemics like we have now. And, I just think that whole concept of naturopathic medicine and utilizing things like PRP and ultrasound, and Tramiel and some of those other things that are really helpful for inflammation, is just such a great way for not just athletes, but just people in general to live pain-free. And it's an affordable piece that enables you to live pain-free. And, as we're seeing within our society, our world's a little bit backwards. We sacrifice our health to make money, and then we end up having to use that money to then, impact or improve our health. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day is, if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready, right? Yeah. So if you stay consistent with your exercise protocols and, your nutrition protocols, and you focus on doing the right thing when nobody's watching, we are a collection of choices. And by making the right choices, you can, enhance your immune system, enhance your mindset, enhance your community, enhance your body composition, amongst so many other things, by simply staying consistent or circling back to our original concept of just make it to your mat. Yeah. Just start. Whether that's going for a walk or going for a jog, or, starting to learn how to lift weights from a YouTube channel, or connecting with a coach like myself, like whatever it is that you do, give it your best effort, stay consistent with it. Don't make the goals so insurmountable that you feel overwhelmed that you don't even want to start. The secret is, guys, make it to your mat, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. Well, that's, and I'll leave it at that. I think that's fantastic. Just start and get there. Just get there and get the ball rolling. And, if it's not with Bryce, start with somebody. Look at some YouTube videos. Look at some of the free workouts that Bryce and his Invictus are sponsoring. Jump on there. Make sure you just make it to your mat. Do those things, and you'll live a happy and healthier life. And we don't have to sacrifice. We don't have to sacrifice what we do on a day-to-day basis to get there. Make sure that it's consistent. And first thing to do is start though. So, all right. Well, Bryce, listen, I've come to enough of your time. I appreciate your time, and sorry I couldn't get this going live, but I will have to reach out to Zoom and Facebook and ask them if they're having an issue today, because I felt like I've done this before and I was an expert, but now I'm definitely not an expert, and I'm just left, trying to figure out the solution. So
I love it, man. We're all lifelong learners trying to figure out technology one day at a time, which is a moving target because it's only going to keep developing.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, listen, we'll catch up soon, and we'll talk more soon.
Sounds good. Have a good day. Thanks so much for having me on. Take care, guys.
Thanks, man.